Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I'm going to talk about is the weekends. More specifically, how the weekends change for most of us, particularly when we get older. Now, I was asked the other day just a random question by someone who was inquiring about the podcast. They asked me what was my demographic as far as the age group of the people that listen to this podcast. Very good question. And I really didn't know the exact answer. But I said, somewhere between 30 and 60. And that's a very broad scope, but honestly, that's pretty much my market. That's not necessarily people who I target, but that's the people who genuinely listen to this podcast. If you check the numbers, that's my demo from 30 to 60, right? So it got me to thinking just based off of that question as to how the weekends change as you get older. Because when I was 30, the weekends were totally different than they are now. As far as the things that I did and the things that I like to do, and maybe some of the places that I went to, so forth and so on. And so, what I wanted to talk about on this particular episode was just to kind of lean into that a little and just tell you how the weekends hit differently. At the time of this recording, I'm actually 51 years old. So you see the gray hair, a little gray at the top, don't move as fast as I used to. Still sharp, but on a basketball court, the crossover just don't cross over no more. The jumper just ain't what it used to be. You get older, but better, right? But I will admit that there are certain things that I did when I was younger that I just don't do now. And I wanted to use this episode to kind of reflect and also speak to my demographic of the people who listen to this podcast. And you'll probably find this as relatable content, as you do most of these episodes. Let's see. Things that I used to do. I used to, on the weekends, go to the club. Like many of you, I spent quite a few Friday nights, quite a few Saturday nights in a club or clubs. Now, what was different for me is that I wasn't going to a club to meet anybody, right? I genuinely love music. And if you've been following this podcast, you know that. I love music. More specifically, I love hip hop. I love my old school hip hop, right? And I would literally go to a club and have a drink and would be in the middle of the dance floor dancing by myself. Because again, I'm married, so I'm not going there to pick up anybody. I'm really just going there to have a good time. And honestly, I felt like I got my money's worth if I had a good time. So being here in the city of Atlanta, in my 30s and 40s, well, maybe not so much the 40s, but definitely in the 30s, I was at the club and I would go probably more than most. Let me not say that. I'm not going to say I went more than most people, but I went my fair share of clubs. Shout out to Whiskey Peach, Dragonfly. It would be Whiskey Peach on Friday nights, Dragonfly on Saturday nights. And then probably into my early 40s, it was Visions, Club Visions. Man, listen, Club Visions was a vibe in and of itself. But, that's where I would go. And again, I'm not somebody who's going there to pick up women. I'm just going there to have a good time. And normally it's with my friends. And I would just really enjoy the music, especially if the DJ was dope. I can't stand a whack DJ, right? I think a DJ can make or break a party. And I was fortunate enough to hear some really good DJs. Um, but yeah, those club nights, like I said, Friday nights, Whiskey Peach, and I've mentioned this on on this podcast before, and it's worth repeating. Friday nights at Whiskey Peach were epic because Whiskey Peach was it was this little small club in Midtown Atlanta, and it was basically it was kind of, if you looked at it from the outside, it looked like a house, right? And it was like a house that somebody converted into a club, and we would be in the quote unquote VIP section, but it really wasn't VIP. Standing on couches, man, spilling drinks, and it was fun. And again, it was, I was with the homies, two of my boys from school, my boy Steve, and my boy Clark, and they're single, so like their mission and my mission at the club are two different things. But we would have a ball, and I mean, like, these are my boys from college, so just being here in Atlanta and having a good time. That's what we were all about. And so that was the thing. Like Friday nights, Whiskey Peach, Saturday nights, Dragonfly, and then eventually Friday nights. Was it? Was it Friday or Saturday? I think it's Saturday nights at Visions in the early 2000s. But yeah, it was a vibe. It was a vibe. That was something that I used to do, on the weekends. And if it wasn't, you know, the club, it would be a house party. I used to go to house parties on the weekends. House parties here in the city of Atlanta were so dope because here's the thing: you have adults. You don't have to deal with the riffraff. You don't have to worry about nobody fighting or nobody. Well, full disclosure, I didn't go to the clubs where people were fighting and shooting and stuff. So you had that. So you didn't have to worry about that element, spoiling your fun. But the house parties would be dope because normally it's just a bunch of people and they're in this house, and it's not over the top, but it's always a good vibe. I've been to house parties where it was just grown folks just sitting around playing cards, talking trash, drinking, having a good time. Not even a lot of loud music, not even a lot of dancing, but just kicking it on some cool out shit. Man, I was all about the cool out sets. If you were having a cool out set at your crib and I got invited, hey, I'm coming there and I'm having a good time. That was something I used to do on the weekends. I used to love when my wife and we would go to house parties from our friends, and we threw a couple of house parties here, a couple of card parties, and had a ball. And full disclosure, we would play spades, and we never lost. We were undefeated in spades, and so our streak continues. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of the weekend. That was something I used to do on the weekend. Another thing I used to do on the weekends was drink. Now, and there's an episode coming about my drinking or lack thereof, but I'm not much of a drinker. I am the most social of social drinkers, right? So I would drink on the weekend because I was never the guy who was gonna come home and pop open the refrigerator and say, "Oh, let me get a beer and chug down." First of all, I don't like beer. I never like beer. Beer tastes like goat urine. So I was never a fan of beer. But not that I know what goat urine tastes like, but you feel where I'm coming from. But no, that's was something that I did. I was never the type to drink during the week. So the weekends would be the only time that I would drink. So that was something that I used to do on the weekends. Living in the city of Atlanta, I would go to games on the weekends. Games meaning to check out my Atlanta Hawks. I would check out the Falcons too. Not a fan, but I would check out the Falcons games because, I was in the city when Mike Vick was here. And trust me, the Mike Vick experience was unreal. They need to make a documentary on just how the vibe was on game day. I've never seen anything like that in my life. People would be in the stadium an hour before the game even started just to see Mike Vick play. And the tailgates at the Falcons games were crazy. It was literally like having a club outside. And the Braves. I'm not a Braves. I'm a Yankees fan, but I would go to Braves games because I would get tickets for free. And I'll never forget going to see. I went to a playoff game and saw them play against Barry Bonds and the San Francisco Giants. So that was cool. As far as football, like I said, not a Falcons fan. I'm a Giants fan. But I would go to games on the weekends. That was something cool to do. I didn't mind the crowds and everything like that. I like the experience. Have as someone who has played sports, most of my life, played football all the way through college at South Carolina State University. I enjoy the crowd. I enjoy the excitement and the buildup that you have in a game. Again, I'm a huge fan of the Atlanta Hawks, so it's always good to see my squad. And I'd go to at least about 10 or 11 games each year. What else did I used to do on the weekends? Oh, used to go to a lot of kiddie parties on the weekend. If you're a parent, you feel where I'm coming from. Kiddie parties are the thing to do when you're a parent because, what else is happening? Your son goes to school. He's friends with little Raheem. Raheem has a birthday party. He's turning 7. Guess what? Everybody in the class gets an invitation to little Raheem's party. And so you got to go to little Raheem's party. And guess what? When you get to little Raheem's party, it's a bunch of adults there and there's some liquor there. There's always liquor at kiddie parties. Always. There's never a kiddie party without liquor. Even if the hosts don't drink, they'll make sure that you have some liquor at the kiddie party. Because guess what? If there are a bunch of kids running around, you're going to need some liquor just to kind of calm the situation. But that was something that I did on the weekends as well. All of those things, going to the club, going to house parties, drinking, going to games, professional sports games. What else? Going to kiddie parties. Oh, I almost forgot. Sports bars. I would love to go to sports bars on the weekends because that was like the next best thing to going to a game. You would go to a sports bar, maybe post up on a Saturday. College football is on, and college football on a Saturday is literally on your TV from noon to like midnight. Like it's nonstop. It's finding whichever games you want to watch. Now I wouldn't stay all day in a sports bar, but I'd be in a sports bar for a couple of hours, just enjoying the game, enjoying the camaraderie of people. The one thing I never did was I never liked to watch games at a sports bar if my team is playing. So I'm a Florida State fan. So if Florida State's on TV, if the Florida State football team is playing, I don't want to go to a sports bar to watch them play because it's just way too noisy. I want to be able to focus in on what my team is doing or not doing. But if my team isn't playing, yeah, I'd go to sports bar in a minute. So doing all of those things on the weekends, clubs, house parties, drinking, sports bars, kiddie parties, going to professional games, all of that stuff comprised of my weekends, in my 30s. But when you get to be, you get to your 40s and definitely now in the 50s, life's different. I do things different. Like now, just to give you an idea, like on the weekends, like I said, the weekends hit different. Now, one thing I do on the weekends, I take naps. And listen, I may be one of the few people who actually look forward to taking a nap. Remember when we were kids, you dreaded taking a nap? Man, as an adult, there's nothing better than taking a nap. And I mean, like, it didn't have to be like one of those long naps. In fact, I'm probably one of the few people that that I will actually set a timer when I take a nap. I never take a nap more than an hour, maybe an hour and a half every now and then, but I'm not sleeping beyond an hour and a half on a Saturday or Sunday because that time is precious. I don't want to lose that time, but at the same time, a nap is necessary, and I look forward to taking naps. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. You should take naps too. Naps are good for you, even though we hated them as kids. What else did I do on the weekends? I cut my grass on the weekends. I love cutting my grass on the weekends. It's just something about being outside, even when it's 1,000 degrees outside. I like doing it because it beautifies my yard, but it's also like it's your chance to be outside. And I've always been a kid who, growing up in South Carolina, we spent a lot of time outside, particularly in the era that I came up in. Outside was everything. I say that all the time. Everything that we needed, everything that we wanted happened outside. So even as an adult, even though I don't like being in the heat, even though I hate, because here, let's just be honest, the heat is oppressive. So it really doesn't matter if you're outside at 12 o'clock or if you're outside at 4 o'clock. It's still hot as hell. So, I make sure I drink plenty of liquids, and I make sure that I'm, take breaks and stuff, but I don't mind getting out there cutting the grass. That's something that I do on the weekends. Um, Another thing I do on the weekends, I love to spark up the grill and fire up the barbecue. Um, Grilling is something that I've always done, even, as far back as high school. That's just something we did. So it's like food just tastes better off the grill. And I'm one of the few people that you probably know that I grill year round. Like it doesn't have to be the summertime for me to grill. You could catch me in the wintertime outside grilling. You can catch me in the spring outside grilling. You can even catch me from time to time outside in the rain grilling. That's just how I grew up. And you know what's funny? I really assumed that everybody else grew up like that. But I know everybody didn't grow up in South Carolina like I did. And there are people in South Carolina that didn't even do that. But that was just something we did. So, like I said, food tastes better off the grill. So it's nothing for me to, cook Sunday dinner on the grill. Again, it's I love to do it, especially when the weather's warm. But if it's 20 degrees outside, I can get on the grill. That's perfect because you on the grill. You ain't worried about being cold. Now, I don't like to grill in the rain, because that involves me getting an umbrella, trying to make sure that the coals don't get wet as I'm doing that. But other than that, no. I'll grill anything, anytime, anywhere. It doesn't matter. um, what else do I do on the weekends? Oh, weekends always seems to involve dinner with the family. We eat dinner as a family nightly, but it's different because at the time of this recording, our oldest two sons, Dion is in grad school and Cameron is in undergrad, and they're away from here. So, but we still go out to dinner. We will at some point we'll do dinner out on the weekends, or we may order in. We may order takeout, do like wings, pizza. That's usually our Friday thing, like wings, pizza. um, we've done that for a long time. Wings, pizza, fries. Something simple where we, because it's the end of the week, we're not cooking, but there's always a dinner with the family, or maybe we'll go out to eat. I'm big on that too. Like, hey, let's go, and then we'll go out to eat and just kind of eat dinner and enjoy dinner as a family. Um, I'll be honest, that's not something that my family did a lot growing up, so I really enjoy doing that with my family, particularly when the older kids are at home. Um, what else? I do from time to time on the weekends attend organized events. What I mean by that is like my wife is in a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, and sometimes they have events. And sometimes I'll go to the events. Uh, and our family is also a part of a organization, and they have events and they have family events. And so sometimes we'll go to those as well. But I'm not going to say sometimes, we go to all of them. So I do those events as well. And sometimes, it's cool because it's a black tie event. So, you got to get custom made from head to toe and step out and be kind of clean a little bit. I do that too. So the weekends, so I'm doing different things, but that's more of an adult vibe. And that's what, you do on the weekends when you're 40 plus. Um, what else happens on the weekends? Oh, I definitely work out on the weekends. That's not something that I did a lot growing up. But now as you get older, you got to work out a little more. So it's nothing for me to get up on a Saturday morning and go to the gym. Now in my 30s and my 20s, you wouldn't catch me at the gym on a Saturday morning, man. I was chilling. I was resting, relaxing, watching TV, watching cartoons. No, I wasn't, but then as you get older, particularly for us when we had kids, if you're not running around with the kids, yeah, it's trust me, if you don't believe me, try it. Go get a workout in on a Saturday morning, or better yet, take a walk. If it's not too hot or it's not too cold, or even if it is, who cares? Put some clothes on. But yeah, it's getting the heart pumping and the blood flowing early in the morning, I think is a good thing. So do that. But yeah, I definitely do that on the weekends as well. Um, I've done that a lot more, particularly I would say probably these last 10 years. I've probably done a lot more than that on the weekends than I ever have. Um, and, another thing, particularly as a father with kids who are active, the things that I do on the weekends is be involved in their sporting events. So whether or not if it's our daughter who's playing tennis or our youngest son who's playing football, you're always moving around. So you're going to sporting events. Um, and I look forward to that because you always want to see how your kid is going to perform. I'm not one of those parents who think that their kid is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I also understand too that with both of us being athletes or former athletes, we have athletic children. So watching them perform is always a joy and a treat. But you know that wasn't something that I did when I was 25. Well, full disclosure, I didn't have any kids at 25 either. So but your life kind of changed different. So like I said, the weekends hit differently when you get older. Um, in conclusion, in saying that, it doesn't mean that the weekends get boring because trust me, my weekends aren't boring at all. I have a lot of fun on the weekends. I look forward to the weekends. I live for the weekends just like most of you. I am on Fridays at I got one eye on the clock and I got one eye on the computer. Um, and when 4:30 comes, I'm out the door. So it's always interesting. It's always interesting. I think as you get older, your priorities change. Obviously, if you get married, if you have kids, things change, and so your focus change. So basically, what you've heard me say is that the focus has changed, but I'm also looking to have fun as well. But the weekends are different. Not better, not worse, but just different. And I'm okay with it being different. So if you're younger and you're listening to this episode, understand that your weekends are going to change. They're going to change for the better, but they're going to change. And just be okay with change because we all should be okay with change. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. The podcast can be found any and everywhere. There's a new episode every Thursday and every Sunday. That's right. We're doing 2 episodes a week. We're not doing any more bonus episodes. You're getting 2 episodes of the 12 Kyle podcast every week. Make sure that you listen. Make sure that you share. Make sure that you subscribe. It's very important. And you know what? I am actually soliciting commentary. So if you want to drop comments, you can do that as well. If you listen on Spotify, then you can leave a comment on Spotify. I actually want to shout out, I can't even remember the guy's name, but he made a comment the other day and I took it to heart. I didn't get mad at it. I actually welcomed it because he said, "Hey, your audio is off on some of these episodes," and tweaked it, got rid of the old computer and it sounds much better. But no, I'm always here for constructive criticism. Also, we have a YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button, and then share it also with your friends. But if you hit the notification button, you'll get notified because the YouTube videos actually come out before the audio does. And if you're on social media, follow me on social media at 12 Kyle, at 12 Kyle Podcast. I'm on Twitter X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. We have a TikTok page, 12 Kyle Podcast on TikTok. And if you want to support the podcast financially, a couple of ways you can do that. We have merch. Look in the description box. You see a line that says merch. Click that link. You can get yourself 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, posters, mugs, you name it. We got it for a low price. And also, if you want to contribute financially, hit us up on the Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Again, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's.